Day one of Climate Week. Isn't this exciting? And this view is just amazing for Climate Week. Welcome to New York. Who here's coming from outside of New York City? Raise your hand. That is why we're starting with travel. It's a very important subject to talk. Most of us are coming from outside the city. My name is Christina. I am the CEO of Overview Effect, Read My Experience. Read My Experience is a sustainability platform solution enabling companies to start their journey simple and strategy much better, right? Like I was saying, we are a sustainability-focused platform that is providing solutions to help businesses start small and build up their strategy to gain bigger impact. So today, we have a series of events that is called Innovate for Impact, and we want to start with the travel industry focus. I started my journey in the travel industry over 20 years ago, and I discovered the power that it has to change the world. If we think for a second how many industries are connected in order to build an event like this one today, right? There's food and beverage, transportation, accommodation. There's at least 10 to 15 industries that touch each other in order to connect ourselves, right? So basically, the reason why I want to start focusing on the travel industry is because we are constantly, it can be a source of wonder and a powerful tool for change. But at the same time, it comes with undeniable challenges that we must address. The reason why Climate Week is so powerful is that it really brings together very, very passionate people to be able to transform every situation. Can I stop for a second? Can I have another clicker? Thank you so much. So basically what we want to address here is how do we start with different actions. We're going to stop for a second so that I can get my presentation. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome, thanks. All right. Oh, there you go. Thank you so much. So basically what I want to talk is about the lights and shadows of the travel industry, right? So when we talk about the lights of the travel industry, it is the largest industry in the world, right? We're able to contribute to $9.2 trillion to the global economy, and we're generating over 300 million jobs worldwide. But yet, of course, there's a cultural exchange where UNESCO said that 1.4 billion tourists visited their heritage sites in 2019, before pandemic, of course. And what about environmental conservation? My home country is Costa Rica, and if you've ever been there, 30% of our country is protected in national parks, and our main economy is the travel industry, and everything is focused in sustainable tourism. So right now, the ecotourism is growing between 15 to 20% globally. So this is the lights of the travel industry. Now let's talk a little bit about the shadows of the travel industry. Of course, everything comes with an impact. So environment degradation, of course carbon emissions, something that is being very, very deeply discussed here during Climate Week. We also have deforestation because we need to build a tourist infrastructure. Water and reef destruction, of course. Wildlife disruption, if everyone has been, like in Africa, for example, in countries like Costa Rica as well, how do we take care of that? Over tourism, that is a big one, for example, for the cruise industry. What is happening with Venice? How is that taken care of? And of course, the loss of cultural integrity. the exploitation and inequality that is also happening in destinations. But the reason why we started this panel this morning is we're selecting, I wanted to show you that in order to the transformation to begin, we have to start changing or turning our shadows into light. So in order to do that, we brought together a group of amazing speakers so that we're able to learn this morning what people are actually doing to start working towards a much more sustainable travel industry. There is something that we're trying to do here, and it's actually measure our carbon footprint. And what we're trying to do here is if you can send us a text message and text 33777, it will help us understand where are you coming from, how did you get here, and then after the event we're able to calculate the whole impact of the event, and we're going to send it over because it really takes a little bit more time to do things, to actually be able to measure the impact that the event is having. We're going to be passing this along the different panels so that everyone remembers and we can help them. All right, so our first section is how the travel industry can lead the way and a holistic approach to sustainable travel. So I really want to introduce our first set of panelists. Please start coming to the stage. It's going to be hosted by Stuti Jalan, the founder and MD of Crosshairs Communications from New Delhi, India. Please welcome. The speakers are going to be Diane Binder, founder and CEO of Generopolis. Thank you. Robin Saylor, co-founder of the Labs Group. Welcome. Carla Gauthier, member of the Foundation, and we're waiting for Shelly. She's a little bit behind. She's stuck in traffic in Brooklyn. So she's going to be here. Oh, she's here. Welcome, Shelly. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Christina, for this warm welcome. I was really conscious getting up first on stage. But I'm really glad to be here. I'm from India and I'm founder of two companies. Just to introduce myself briefly, from Women Inspiring Network and Crosshairs, which is a communication firm. And when Christina asked me to do this panel today, I was really excited because we represent Accor in India, and that is big in sustainability and from a hospitality point of view. And for those of you who don't know about Women Inspiring Network, it is a storytelling platform which inspires women out there. And I'm so glad all our speakers of this panel today are women. And it's a movement to pay it forward. And thank you, Christina, and your company, Green Experience, for allowing us to host this. So, and this is a very important topic. So I'm going to ask all our speakers to also introduce themselves because that would do justice. So Dia, why don't you start telling us a bit about yourself? Of course, we had the opportunity to meet earlier, but tell us in your own words about your journey, and so that our viewers know what your journey on the sustainability space has been.
Sure, thank you very much for your kind introduction, and thank you, Christina, and with my experience for the invitation and the warm welcome. I'm very happy to be here today. I'm based in Paris, so my name is Diane Binder. I founded a company called Regionopolis a few years ago that is dedicated to supporting local solutions at the intersection of climate action, preservation of biodiversity, and urban and community resilience. So my background is more on environmental protection, access to environmental services, private sector development, mostly in Africa. I've been developing major public-private partnerships for years, and I started a few years ago really wanting to, when you think about sustainability, starting by supporting local solutions. Whatever field they are, it's always like how can we accelerate local solutions. And a few years ago, I joined forces with my partner who has been in hospitality for over 20 years, and we developed together 700,000 hours impact. I know it's a mouthful to pronounce, but I'll tell you more about the name later. And the whole concept is to harness hospitality to catalyze local projects that regenerate local communities and natural ecosystems around. So I'll be talking about this later. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And on my left, I have, of course, Diane. I have, Robin. I'm right. So Robin, it's really a really good coincidence because Robin and me had met in Davos and we were not in touch. I mean, she may have sent me an inbox on LinkedIn, and yes, and we sometimes miss that. And Christine, because of you, I suddenly, when we connected on LinkedIn, I realized your message from a few months back, and so I'm so glad, Robin, I could actually meet you again in person.
Because when you meet someone whose company is Women Inspiring Women, you connect with them on LinkedIn because you know somewhere, somehow you will find them again.
Yes.
And we have. In terms of my journey, I'm a co-founder of Lee Labs, which is a storytelling and experiential agency. And then I'm also a venture partner with Helena Capital, which invests in female-founded companies around the world. And one of our general partners, Connie Cocroft, is here in the audience. So if anybody is interested, is a female founder looking to be invested in, she's the woman to talk to. I'm here to talk about, to represent the US. Everyone is doing work all around the world, and I also work globally, but the project that I'm talking about today is something that we worked on, which was a public-private partnership in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
And Carla, would you like to start by telling us a bit about your journey? Of course, I have details here, but tell us a bit about your journey and in your own words, because we haven't really interacted, but I'm really glad to meet you.
Me too. Me too. I'm happy to meet you as well, and thank you for having me here. My name is Carla Gautier. I am an architect from Puerto Rico. And I have a company that's called Conti Design Build Studio. And what we do is we focus on using modular and upcycled structures, like shipping containers, to be able to build homes and businesses that are resilient to climate change and that produce their own resources. So we mix biological and technological systems to be able to create live homes, basically.
And Shelley, of course, I must say we all were running late, and the escalator did take a lot of time. The elevator, so you're not really late. So tell us in your own words about your journey and yeah.
That's right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shelley Worrell. I'm the founder of I Am Caribbean, and we're also the organization that leads the ongoing development of the very first and only Little Caribbean in the world, which is where I was traveling from, in Flatbush, Brooklyn, which is where our work is extremely rooted. So our work in sustainability is quite organic. I think it started first with our upcycled mobile shipping container that serves as a cultural space. So it's currently stationed on Governor's Island, where we host art exhibitions, different cultural programs. It also is a space where we originally launched our first walking tour when we launched Little Caribbean back in 2017. And more recently, we launched a partnership with Nat Geo to have one of only 2 tours in New York City. It's an all-green tour. So we work a lot with a lot of the local businesses in Little Caribbean to become more sustainable. So the No Plastic Initiative. So I'll be speaking a little bit more through that lens today. Thank you.
So I'm really glad. So today's topic is of course on sustainability and how it's so relevant today and how it impacts communities. I'm just going to go to the first question and feel free, whoever wants to jump in first. Like, have you done any particular project which sort of has emphasis on sustainability and how it's affecting communities at large? So who would like to start that? Would you like to start that, Sherry? Because I feel that's up your alley.
Yeah, so in terms of, can you just repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Like what sort of initiatives and communities need to undertake to sort of explore sustainability, especially in Venezuela, in water ever before?
Right, so I think for us, really it's about sustaining first and foremost our culture and our heritage in a primarily immigrant, I would say Black and brown community. And so, as I mentioned, our work in this space has been really, really organic, right? It wasn't very intentional, but as we sort of developed different spaces like the Caribbean House or a tour like the Nat Geo tour, which actually came to us, we started thinking about how can we actually integrate that more into our work on a day-to-day basis. So, you know, just yesterday I was having a conversation with our neighbors about sort of like how can we clean the block, right? And how can they actually, because I noticed, you know, that they weren't sort of like taking care of their garbage properly, right? So I think it really starts from a very grassroots level for us, sort of like this very sort of like one-to-one, bottom-up conversation, but then, you know, having partners like Governor's Island, the City of New York, as well as National Geographic, I think allows us to sort of like look at it on a more global scale.
Yeah. And so Diane, I'm also going to ask your thoughts on this, and also sort of club it with like how economic development sort of impacts when you're sort of growing from a tourism perspective. So from community to economic development to, you know, how it impacts us on the tourism sector.
Okay, well, there are many things in your question. So first, I mean, to me what is important is actually to go beyond sustainability and really to talk about regeneration. Because at the end of the day, sustainability is like we're trying to make sure that the resources we use today are not going to deplete future generations. Whereas regeneration is about how what we do today can fit back into the system. So, and that's, the difference is very important also in terms of being proactive about it and being very intentional about it. So that's one. Then to engage our community and to empower them, it's a lot about, the process is core, so it's a lot about co-creation. It's not about coming, you know, and being like, oh, this is what you're going to do for you. It's not about simply trying to limit the damages on the planet, like, you know, about optimizing the use of water or recycling waste or having farm to table for food, but it's really about how can we create autonomy in a community, how can we empower local people to basically design their own development path, and to us what is very important is to have a mix. It's not only about economic development, it's about livelihoods, it's also about the preservation of cultural heritage, it's about the restoration of lands, and it can't be addressed in silos. So it's a very systemic and holistic approach to development. And at the end of the day, this is always on a change of mindset and a change in paradigm when you think about hospitality. What we do with 700,000 Hours Impact is really to actually see hospitality not as an end per se, but really as a way to support heritage and communities and ecosystem planet. So that's
So I love the way you said the holistic approach to everything. So I'm going to come back to you, Robin, and what are your thoughts from a community perspective and the kind of work that you've done, if you'd like to highlight that.
I mean, we saw the numbers earlier with Christina. The global tourism industry is $10 trillion, which is 9.1% of global GDP. And it's scalable at the rate that the uniqueness of the tourism industry grows. It's sort of directly correlated. The more cruise ships you bring in, the more you destroy the unique experience around you. So it's important to really capture that. Yes, we can all keep building 5-star resorts on a beach and have sort of the McDonald's Instagram experience of tourism, but what we're really here today is about making sure that the culture is protected and that the environment is protected, and that as we grow and bring people, because tourism has never been more accessible, you know, ever. And so to be able to bring more people to an area with sustainability at the top of the mind is important. And I can talk more about the program later. which didn't start necessarily with sustainability at the top of mind. So it was about innovation and driving towards it, but the results was creating a unique, sustainable tourist experience that's had pretty impressive results in its first season.
And I love the thought of culture you brought in, because that's a very, very important topic to sort of touch upon. And what are your thoughts, Carla, on this? And how from a culture, community,
Yeah, definitely.
highlight some of the projects which you've done.
Thank you. What you bring is actually really important, and also Dana was talking about regeneration before. That's something that we're focusing a lot, and that's kind of one of the main reasons why we're moving into the tourism industry. So, kind of a little bit of a background. When we got started, we started actually after Hurricane Maria happened in Puerto Rico, and during that hurricane, we got around 70,000 homes were destroyed in 48 hours. So that meant 70,000 families were left without a home.
And where was this?
This was in Puerto Rico.
Oh.
Yes, in 2017. And the thing is, Puerto Rico is an island in the Caribbean, which is right in the way of every single hurricane that comes every single year. So we see climate change firsthand every single year. We're experiencing it. I remember growing up and seeing an island that was completely different than what we have now. Unfortunately, things are dying. And one of the biggest reasons why we're doing this is that after I saw that destruction, I realized we cannot continue to build the same way we're building right now, because that is what's causing 40% of the carbon emissions are coming from the construction industry. So that's what we're trying to revolutionize. That's what we're trying to change here. And we've been doing that for 4 years with individual clients and different NGOs, helping people that were left without their homes after the disasters as well. And we're realizing that we need to be able to impact a little bit more, to showcase that this is not sustainable construction. It's not just for hippies. We can all live here. We can all live in this way, and we don't necessarily have to leave our luxuries behind. And that's kind of what we're trying to do now, and move into developing our own projects in the tourism industry, and so that we can really showcase that sustainable construction can be something that everybody can live in. And our goal right now is to build the first completely self-sustainable hotel in Puerto Rico. So hopefully that's going to happen if my engineers don't stop me. But that's kind of, what we're trying to do is really showcase that you can do this, you can live sustainably, and you don't have to leave everything that we're used to behind.
Yeah, and Dan, I want to come back to you, because I think you need to sort of touch a bit on the culture part of it also, and how do we strike that balance?
Sure. So maybe I'll give you an example about what we do in Morocco. So because it all started from a cultural protection point of view. It started with an American NGO, the Global Heritage Fund, that came in at the request of the Moroccan authorities to restore the ancient granary of an abandoned village in the deserts. Very small village, 100 families living there who had moved to the modern village next door. And then the president of the association of the village was like, well, thank you very much for the restoration, but we're not going to make a living out of it, so can you help us create an arts and crafts cooperative, which the NGO did. And then the president of the village association was feels very strongly about his village, say thank you very much, but no one is actually coming here to buy our art or visit the granary, so we would like to have a hospitality project. So that's how my partner, a French hotelier, his name is Thierry Tessier, arrived in the village and decided to hop on hospitality with the idea to work better with local communities. And from that, we've been working now for about 2 years in the village. We've launched about 10 initiatives around 4 pillars, which are economic development, the preservation of cultural heritage, the restoration of natural ecosystems, and women empowerment. And the part of culture is about, it's actually one of the projects that was most important for the villagers, was to preserve the memory of the village and to preserve the traditional know-how. So we started by training women so that they could go and interview the elders to preserve the memory and to find a way to share that with the younger generations, but also with the travelers coming to the village. And at the end of the day, this is what is very core. It's like, how do you make sure that local people, it's all about their own dignity, about well-being, about who they are, about how we are transformed by them as travelers.
Yeah.
So this is very, very core to our approach.
So, Diane, I like it, regeneration and women, and we had to touch on that, and I'm going to come back to you, Shelley. And what are your thoughts on culture and women in general and the kind of work which you sort of highlighted in your community from a women empowerment perspective?
Yeah, I would say our work, particularly out of our shipping container, which is in itself a sustainable project, which we didn't even, I think, understand when we sort of embarked on that journey. So, you know, when we had, and we started to develop this space that had a female architect, right, and a lot of the designers involved were women. The holidays came around and we said to ourselves, we have this space, why don't we convert it into a marketplace? And this is an 8x20, you know, modular, upcycled, solar powered shipping container. And what we did is we started to outreach to a lot of the local artisans in the neighborhood so that they can actually have an opportunity to sell their wares, because a lot of them still to this day do not have distribution channels, right? They just are making candles or jewelry or some other type of, you know, sort of artifact out of their homes or maybe a co-working space. And now we're in we're entering our 8th year of that market, but then now we also have a permanent space for them to sell their products year round. And I would say that probably 90% of the artisans that are carried in both our shop online as well as our physical spaces are female artisans. So it does sort of like intersect not only culture, but it also creates a channel for economic opportunity for female entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask you, Robin, how are stronger women-led networks help us you know, that they support and lead these innovative, sustainable initiatives in their community? So if you could highlight from a women network perspective, and what is it that we need to do around that?
Well, the governor of Michigan, Governor Whitmer, is a woman, and initially the launch of this, it was 120 miles worth of off-roading trails that were connected with EV charging stations for the first time. And this is the Story Pioneer Trail, and so there was a public-private partnership put together with the state of Michigan and Polaris. And initially, the plan was, to your point, to launch it on International Women's Ride Day, where women all over, and I didn't even realize it, it's the first Saturday in May. I know a lot of you might be watching the Derby on that day, but on that day, women who are inspiring women are getting on their bikes, their Harleys, their off-road vehicles, and riding all over the world. And so we were going to time this with Governor Whitmer to kind of open up this EV trail experience, but the trails weren't ready yet. But she's really driven this idea of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan as being the fresh coast is the best coast, where she is competing with Silicon Valley to invest in EV, the future of mobility, innovation, to make the waterways and the off-roading, beautiful natural parks there accessible via electric vehicles, which changes the whole experience. Because if you've ever gone off-roading before, it's a loud, noisy experience, but the quietness of EV vehicles really changes the way that you feel. And you know, up there are a lot of people who live in the outdoors, who are fly fishermen, who are sort of stalking animals. And so the first time that they are birding, it's a huge birding place. The first time that they kind of came through, we had a journalist who was covering the experience, and he said, in all of my life covering off-road vehicles, I've never been greeted the way I was by a fly fisherman, where he's looked at our motorcade and barreling through the woods, and he said, oh, I'm so glad that you all are here, because now I can charge my electric pickup truck. And because it's the partnerships used local, the local electrical company who's giving free electricity, where if you have a Tesla, you can pull up and charge on one of the Polaris sponsored charging stations there for free, and you don't have to pay gas. And the area that they are really promoting tourism there is it's along the coast of Lake Superior. You look up at the northern lights at night are unbelievable, and some of the coast, if you've never been there, you should go. It looks like the coast of Turks and Caicos, and they have incredible natural parks that are really, I feel like undiscovered for the people who are just flying back and forth to Turks and Caicos, but it's worth a journey.
Yeah.
I'm sure they also love to get their quiet back.
Yes, they like to get their quiet back.
So, and I'd like to know your thoughts, Carla, especially about what sort of support women are getting in Puerto Rico, and then of course I'm going to ask Shelley and Jan also the same question, because I think we'll also be reaching the end of our our session. So why don't you share your thoughts, because we have everybody from different parts of the world here. Yes, about any women networks to how to support tourism, culture, anything which you've seen in your country which you'd like to highlight. How can women get more support in this special segment in sustainable tourism?
I think one of the biggest things is how can we really make sure that our projects are communal projects. So for example, in that hotel that we're designing right now, part of the idea when it comes to the operations is that we're going to be working with the community as well. So like, for example, obviously one big thing in the tourism industry, in hotels specifically, is like all those teeny tiny bottles of shampoo that drive me insane. We need, we're going to get rid of those. Instead, we're going to use bar shampoos. But not only that, but we're going to be choosing companies from Puerto Rico, from women-owned Puerto Rican companies actually, that are making these products as well. And so it's really about, instead of just buying something on Amazon and just getting a giant package of it for to be able to run your operations, like how do you actually get the community involved? There's so many things that you'll need. We're going to be having experiences like yoga and wellness and hiking, and that's all going to be with local people that live in that town actually. So not only are we regenerating the immediate space by generating our own resources and our own food in the actual property, but also we're involving the community leaders as well around that town so that we can actually bring tourism to that town and bring economic prosperity to the town, not just to the one property itself.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the biggest thing is collaboration.
Yeah, and Deanne, your thoughts from a women perspective?
So first, whatever works on our project is actually what is being led and implemented by women. Like we're on this path of like creating autonomy and non-dependency. Women do that. Men usually take the money and then ask for more money. So it might be cliche, but it's my experience like on all of the projects. So that's one. And then I feel sometimes when when we talk about not only about growth, about performance, but really about a well-being economy, about preserving social dignity and empowering people. Somehow, I know it's going to be like very maybe cliche and radical, but our patriarchal societies have led us to this stage where the world is not going well, and somehow this approach are understood by women. So I really feel like whatever organizations we are part of, women can very much be the change maker and lead the way on the regenerative path.
But we do need the support of men. We do know men. Yes, and on to you, Shelley.
Yeah, I mean, so our work is very applied, right? So we're actually doing this work every day. So a lot of it is women-led. So in addition to the sort of like micro entrepreneurs that I mentioned, a lot of the businesses that we support that are involved in our tour, for example, are female-owned businesses. So of course, by default, we're a Black woman, immigrant, or child of immigrant owned business, right? So similarly, most of the entrepreneurs that we work with also have that very same background. So I would just sort of like shout out not only like our own organization, but it's about the network of businesses and the community that we work with on a day-to-day basis.
And there's a big call for innovators in this space. I've worked on another project in Riyadh where for the NIST Global Forum, where I helped run an accelerator there, and they were pulling in the youth of Saudi Arabia, I think, in a more enterprising, more tech-minded way. And it was women of all traditions then, and we were putting them through an accelerator where we gave them a problem. We asked them to, we taught them the tenets of design theory. We asked them to come up with a minimum viable product, and then we taught them to pitch to stakeholders and investors. And each day, one of the problems and solutions that we had them solve for was innovation and sustainable tourism. Because there's a big push right now to go to Saudi Arabia. They've opened up the visas, so they do for tourist visas for Americans, and they want you to come, but they also want you to experience this in a sustainable way as well.
Okay, we've reached the end of the session, so I'm just going to ask you all in 3 words, what is the most important for today's topic, and who'd like to go first? Just 3 words. Okay, would you like to start, Carla? You can use any words like culture or regeneration or anything. Dan, would you like to start 3 words to wrap up our session?
Regeneration, regeneration, regeneration.
Perfect.
And then you can organize everything around that.
Yeah. What would you like?
For me, I'd say symbiotic relationships for regeneration.
Yes.
For me, it would be culture, community, and commerce.
And the partnerships are so important, and making sure that those partnerships, I know this is not free works, are local, but then also external, because there isn't going to be an effect to everyone working together.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say for us, and for us now sitting here, it should all be to pay it forward, because we need to leave a better future for the other generations to come. So thank you so much, Christine and Greenman Experience, and I'd like to thank all our panelists. They're from all over the world, and I'm really, really happy that I could meet you.
We have to switch to the other parts. Thank you so much for this. Very inspirational. Yeah, get a picture. What an amazing group of women. Thank you so much. So inspirational. Thank you. Regeneration, culture, community, partnerships, and that's all about what we're doing here. It really takes a village to build a sustainable travel industry. And what I wanted to start showing today, and this is why we selected the panelists that we have today, is to actually start showing examples of what people are actually doing and what it actually takes. And there's more people doing good things in the world, and that is why I wanted to spark this conversation. So thank you a lot for sharing all this information.